The administration is still their paid liar, their spokesperson, picture behind. He's still making up things about what happens and calling this local rogue.
Darrell Issa over the weekend called you a paid liar for the administration. I wanted to give you an opportunity to respond to his.
I hadn't heard that. That's amazing. I'm not going to get into a back and forth with Chairman Issa.
That was White House Press Secretary Jay Carney responding to Congressman Darrell Issa's latest comment about him being the Obama administration's, quote, paid liar. Needless to say, throughout the past several weeks of trying to defend the president and the White House from various scandals, Carney has done, well, more harm than good. Here with reaction to this and much more, Fox News contributor Liz Cheney. Liz, what is first your reaction to Issa's comments?
You know, I think Jay Carney's in a very tough position. He works for a president who, the best you can say about him is that he's unacquainted with the truth. And Jay Carney is in a position where, you know, he's had to go out now. He's said things that are demonstrably false with great confidence, said nobody in the White House knew about the IRS investigation that was underway. We learned that wasn't true, sort of day after day after day. And it seems to me there are two possibilities here. One is that Jay doesn't have the kind of access that a press secretary needs to know what's really going on, that he's out there saying things that aren't true and he's unaware that the things he's saying are not true. You know, in which case it seems that the honorable thing to do at this point is resign. If you don't have the access that you need, if the President of the United States, your boss, has sent you out to say things that are not true, you know, Carney's got to be considering that the honorable path is resignation. On the other hand, perhaps he knows what he's saying isn't true, and that leads you down an entirely different path. But his credibility at this point has really been severely damaged, as has the Attorney General's, as has the President of the United States, as have many others in this administration.
What do you take out of Carney's statements that nobody in the White House knew? Then we found out the White House counsel knew. Then she told the chief of staff. I think the biggest news that came out this week, Stephanie Cutter met with the IRS chairman. That's part of the political campaign. She's the deputy campaign manager. Again, we were told by Carney that never happened.
No, it's absolutely inexplicable that the IRS commissioner would be at the White House 157 times. I mean, most administrations, most honest administrations, make a big effort to separate out what's happening in the White House from the IRS. The IRS is supposed to be an independent agency. We're not supposed to be in a situation where the president is using the IRS to go after his enemies. And when you've got members of his political campaign meeting with the head of the IRS, you know there's something very fishy going on. But I would also say, you know, people should look at this, frankly, those of us who are conservatives, those of us who are patriots, you know, those of us who agree with what the Tea Party stands for, you know, and take comfort in the fact that the administration would not be targeting us if they weren't worried about our power, if they weren't worried about the power of these organizations to make real change and, frankly, to interfere with their plans for the nation. So it should give people hope in terms of our ability to affect the future here.
Let me go to this issue of the 157 visits by the head of the IRS to the White House, because in the Bush years there was one visit. So if we want to, as a comparison, Hillary went to visit Obama in the White House 43 times, Tim Geithner 48 times, the IRS commissioner 157, and then he scoffs off by saying, well, I went to an Easter egg roll. How damaging or alarming is that number, especially compared to the Bush years?
Well, you can't explain it. There's no honest, good explanation for it. I think what it goes to also, Sean, is the arrogance of this administration, the arrogance of this president. You know, it doesn't seem to matter to him if the people who work for him lie. You know, when you start to see things like this New York Times report today about Eric Holder being potentially in danger of losing his job, it's not because he's not telling the truth, it's because he's now become a political liability. So, you know, the president basically seems to have operated as though, boy, let's just get away with as much as we can get away with. The media is not going to hold us accountable. You know, we are somehow above the law. We're somehow above accountability. And at the end of the day, so what if we get caught? You know, we'll get away with it. And I think that, you know, they finally now are coming to see that the law does apply to them.
Do you
Hopefully,
see?
We'll continue to see that.
Do you see that similar pattern with Fast and Furious, with Benghazi, the IRS scandal, and the targeting of journalists? Do you see a pattern?
No question. I mean, if you go back through Eric Holder's career, as Attorney General, you know, coming in first of all and easing up on the prosecution of the new Black Panthers for their voter intimidation, then saying he's going to prosecute CIA agents, then leading the charge to bring terrorists into the United States. You know, it goes on and on and on. Hiring lawyers to work in his department who had volunteered their time to defend terrorists, to defend people who'd taken up arms against the United States. You know, this is a man who, you know, you used to maybe say, gosh, maybe he's in over his head. But we've seen again and again and again a disregard for the law that's very dangerous, frankly, in a constitutional republic, in a place where he's supposed to be, you know, the chief law enforcement officer reporting to the president.
All right, Liz Cheney, always good to see you. Thanks for being with us.
You too, Sean.